Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Easter EBC message. Now we're at St. John's at our ossuarium, thinking about the fact that on that Easter Sunday morning, the women would have been coming to a spot where Jesus has been laid, just like we'd be thinking about people coming out here to see folks who they've put to rest. And this is Mark that we're looking in for the Easter story this year, and it's chapter 16, and it's verses 1 through 8. It's a really short telling of the Easter morning. Here's what happens. First, the women are coming out, they're carrying their spices because they're expecting to find Jesus still laying in the tomb. There are no disciples around, there's nothing else happening, and they're wondering as they walk to the tomb, who's going to roll away that big stone? But when they get there, they see that the stone is already gone, and inside, there's no Jesus. There's an angel that's sitting there, and the angel says, "Don't be alarmed. Jesus is risen. He's not here." All right, in Mark, it's "He's not here." And then he says, "Jesus is going to go on ahead of you to Galilee," as he said, "Go and tell the disciples." But then here's the really crazy part in this telling. It says, the women were so terrified that they didn't tell anybody. Clearly, the story cannot end there. We know the Easter story. We know what happened. We've seen 3 other Gospels tell this story. And you know, in all of those other Gospels, there's a moment where Jesus appears. There's a moment where he's on the road to Emmaus, and he sees the 2 people there, and he's talking to them, and then they discover that's Jesus. There are tellings of the story in which Jesus shows up in John to the disciples behind closed doors, and they see the holes in his hands and the piercing in his side. There are tellings in which Mary sees Jesus and thinks maybe he's the gardener and winds up talking to him until she discovers rabbi, teacher, and then talks to him. In each of the other Gospels, there's sort of what's characterized maybe as a proof of Easter. A moment where Jesus appears actually there, and we know that it happened. And yet, in Mark, it's just the women were so terrified that they didn't tell anyone. Right? The story cannot end there. And as we think about our own relationship to Easter, our own relationship to death, we can think about the fact that there is a story and a simple truth that Mark says and stops. Jesus is risen. He's not here, but he's gone on ahead of us. And so as we think about this Easter Sunday morning, remember the gift that we've been given. That when we come to see loved ones, like in this place, or the other places that we think about all the people that we've loved